today I would like to discuss the magic of the written word. I learned of the magic of the written word many, many years ago from a very, very good teacher. Now, she was also a graphologist, and so she would take samples of people's writings and be able to tell you everything about them. It was uncanny. And she also was a magic teacher, and she taught me how to use the power of the written word in very, very wonderful ways that actually produce huge results. Just writing in my own language, I learned English as my first language, but you can do this in any language that is meaningful to you. Now, when I knew her, she would take a sample of my writing and she would tell me things. And there were a few things about my writing, because my writing was just absolutely atrocious. I've never had good penmanship. Never, ever have I had good writing. And she said, don't worry about that. Just write out a sentence and I'm going to tell you about yourself. And she told me a few things and I said, whoa, that's amazing. And she said, now, do you see these little marks here? And I said, yeah, whatever they were. She said, those are an indication of dishonesty. I've noticed that when people have these, there's a lot of dishonesty in their childhood. There's a lot of dishonesty in the family. Is that true? And I said, there was a lot of dishonesty in my family. And I've really pushed hard to go the other direction and make sure that I'm extremely honest in what I do. And she said, well, what you can do is change that in your writing. You can change that in your writing, and that rewires that part of your brain so that you don't have to always be fighting against the tendency towards dishonesty that you were taught in your family. You can rewire it in your writing, not only in what you're writing about, but in the way that you're writing. So she encouraged me to work on my handwriting to rewire my brain, to actually rewire my brain. And I want to show you how I did that, because I've gotten much better with my handwriting just by practicing as little as 5 or 10 minutes a day. And I've noticed huge changes in my life. And then as a result of that, not only is my handwriting more beautiful, and so many people don't even have handwriting anymore. It's not something that's even taught, I don't think, cursive handwriting especially. But not only has my cursive handwriting gotten better over the years, but the power of the written word has gotten more powerful. I can, and I'm going to show you how to do that too, actually write what I want, and having those things transpire as a magical act of writing in a notebook exactly what I want. Now, this is Clairefontaine. That's a company from France that makes some wonderful writing paper. It's a bit pricey, and it's not necessary for you to spend money on this. You can use any kind of regular notebook paper that you like. But what I like about this paper is that it's got a nice finish to it. And once you do decide that you want to write in fountain pen ink, it's very nice because it doesn't feather and it doesn't bleed. And so you can just use regular college ruled paper like this. Now, what I prefer for my own self when I'm writing and when I'm doing these exercises is I like to use, this is another Clairefontaine book, I like to use this Sayas or French ruled paper because it's got these little grids, and you can see it's got 4 thin lines for every 1 thick line. And so this can help you with your letter spacing and with your heights and your tails and all kinds of stuff when you're practicing your handwriting. So you can use this if you can find it, but this is fine as well. So I'm going to go ahead and use this for now, just because that's probably the type of paper that you're going to be able to find a lot more easily. So the first thing that you want to learn how to do when you're trying to improve your handwriting, especially when you're wanting to rewire your personality and then later actually write certain things into existence, is learn how to hold your pen. So people really grip their pens in odd ways, but if you have your hand like this, you can just lie your pen down or lay your pen down, and you see how it just sits there like this. And you just have a nice little gentle grip. You don't want to grip it real tightly. These fingers here, you just want to glide over the paper like this. So what you can do is just take your pen and do this, just to see this rocking motion. And that's what we want. Now there's some old-fashioned handwriting courses like Palmer where that's the only motion that you're allowed to use. You have to do all of your writing with your arm motion. And the way that we're working today, it's not the case. We still use your fingers to help make some of the shapes, but the bulk of it is in this rocking motion. And that is going to help you because you're not going to grip the pen, and then you won't get tight in here and you won't get tired or you won't hurt yourself. But I would still limit your practice to maybe 5 or 10 minutes a day max, at least as you're starting. So our first exercise is just going to be learning how to write these little horizontal lines. So you want to just find the rocking motion and then just draw some horizontal lines on top of each other, maybe about 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the idea is not to necessarily get them perfect. It's just to find this motion and do your best to trace over your own writing. Just kind of correcting as you go. Just that simple. And again, it's mostly about getting a nice little rhythm and finding the motion rather than drawing the lines. You don't want to feel like you're drawing the lines in. You're just finding the lines from the motion itself. Just do a few rows of those. Doesn't have to be a lot. And you can do this every single day as a meditation, these exercises. So if you're already meditating and you don't have a lot of time, you just incorporate this as your meditation. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take that same motion and we're going to add a little ellipse. Same little rocking motion, trying to find a little ellipse around the line that we just drew. These are very, very powerful exercises to transform your handwriting. And the idea is not to make them perfect. The idea is to do your best to keep the rhythm going and to relax your grip. Okay, now we're going to go the opposite way. We're going to make some diagonal lines. You're going to take about 2 spaces to do this. Not worrying about perfection at all. It's not the point of the exercise. The point of the exercise is to find a motion. Okay, then we'll do the same thing with that. We'll add some ellipses. Now, some of you may be really, really good at these. I've been doing these for years, and this is as good as it gets for me. But the power behind the exercises and what it does to transform my writing is all I care about, not doing the exercises necessarily perfectly. Sort of like if you do push-ups, you're going to build muscles even if your push-ups aren't perfect form. Okay, just a few of those. All right, and then what we'll do is we'll take just some of those ovals, taking 2 lines worth, and just trying to find that ellipse or that oval gently as you move your hand across the page. Now, some of you are going to be able to line those ovals up perfectly, but if you do that, I want it to be from the motion of the exercise, not because you're drawing carefully with your fingers. And so always this downstroke is sort of like toward your navel. Whether you're doing the ellipses or whether you're doing those diagonal lines, those slashes, you're just drawing that pen in toward your navel. Do a series of those now. You can pick up your pen between these for some of them and leave it down for some of them. You'll see some people that are really amazing at penmanship get all of these lines just laid down absolutely perfect. And that's wonderful to see, but it's not the point of the exercise. The point of the exercise is to do your best to keep that motion going and to correct as you go. Okay? And that's really all there is to it. Just doing those few exercises each and every day is going to start to show a huge difference in your handwriting. Now I'm going to switch to my Sayas paper to do some of the writing exercises. Now this may seem way too simplistic and you may not believe it's even possible to do anything with this simple of a method. But I am here to tell you that I have found nothing that really works better. Some things work as well, but nothing works better than this. So let's say you had a need for $1,500 for a bill. You'd start out by writing at the top what you needed. You'd be more explicit than that. All right, and then I would just write a sentence in here. All my financial needs are now met in an easy and, taking your time, relaxed manner. And in healthy and positive ways. So, mote it be. All right, then I just draw a little circle around it. Well, I would put my date here too. The date that I'm doing the spell. Okay, then I close the book. As soon as that spell comes true, I don't rip it up like we do with some of these talismans. Instead, I go up in here and I write a little bit of an acknowledgement. I give thanks. That this has occurred, or something to that effect. Blessed be. Right, this date that it transpired. All right, Now, I have all of this space down here, so I don't need to waste that space. What I would do is I would just do another series of those little slashes here. Just utilize the space for that. Then I've got all this space I can do for another spell. And then this is my spell book. This is literally my spell book, the book that I write my spells in, that only for writing. Now you can combine it. You don't have to have just one book for that if you don't want to. You could also use this as a journal if you'd like, for writing practice, for things like that. So I don't need any scripts. I don't need any special signs or symbols. I just write in my own native language, that which I desire. Very, very seemingly simple and innocuous way of doing things. But what's different about this than a talisman is you don't need to rip it up. You don't need to destroy it. You can keep this all in your book. And then this becomes a record of your workings. So 2 things that we're dealing with here. Changing the way you write is changing your personality, is improving your personality. And how you use your writing, even before you've changed your writing, using that writing to call on change in a specific way as an actual spell casting process. Now, cursive handwriting is what this method is based on. You could print it, but it's not the same. We're using that in order to change the structure of your personality, as well as putting an intention out there to make sure that something actually occurs the way you want it to occur. Very powerful. Easy to discount the power of the written word, but there's really nothing more powerful that I've experienced. I've gotten very quick, very profound results just by writing things into my notebook. Much quicker and much more profound sometimes than any other spellcasting technique I have done. But I also have really focused and committed myself just maybe 10 or 15 minutes a day to do these kinds of exercises and to little by little change my handwriting and improve it through a very systematic way of working. And if that's something that interests you, I am very happy to share my system and how I did it with you, because I had the most atrocious handwriting on the planet. The most atrocious handwriting on the planet. I'm serious. It was the worst anybody had ever seen. And so even though my handwriting's far from perfect now, it's probably as good as it gets, it's definitely a lot more pleasant, and it's actually a lot healthier of a way of writing. And I've noticed a huge, huge difference in my life. And so I would recommend that you get some time in working on cursive handwriting for yourself, if this is something that interests you. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Until next time, blessed be.